the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. 6:04. Did we not take attendance for the last budget meeting? No? All right. Courtesy of the floor, Mr. Bradley,
Am I the only one? Or
you are the only one.
I'll respectfully take my spot.
3 minutes, Dave.
Thanks, Barb.
Yes. I'm now the enforcer.
Okay, so real simple, you got a budget review. I have found that the biggest part of the budget is the staff and benefits. I don't believe this board has the information required to make educated decisions because it doesn't have proper access to the Power School system, which I call Power School to check, and the administration board definitely can access the staff and their responsibilities and their amount of time that they spend in front of students, which is missing. We also have negotiations that are coming up, and yet this board has not identified who is on the negotiations committee. In the past, we had Rita and Nathan, of all people, which did a very poor job in properly negotiating for the benefit of the community, especially when it comes down to protecting the students and saving the community. I'd also like to lobby the district to adopt policy 824 from the Pennsylvania School Board Association, which discusses the safety of students and the grooming problems that have been occurring within schools in general. And the fact that we have missed and blocked that policy is a testament to the problems that this district has had for the protection of students. They blocked that Timothy J. Piazza, they blocked that person that got injured. We didn't answer the private complaints and blocked this 824 policy. It's wrong. You should resign, Mr. Fuller. And the reality is that we expect to see that reflected in the budget because you're going to apply policy properly, protect students, and save the community by having information prior to making a decision. And the last budget committee was nothing more than a lobbyist action looking for 11 new people to be added to the rail. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Lesson 3.
Yeah, to answer one of your questions, the board has opted to have Mr. Jeff Sultanek represent us in the negotiations, and the board members are not participating in the negotiations directly in that fashion. We're directing Mr. Sultanek, but we're not in the meetings.
Why? Why is there no oversight from our government agency that we elected to make sure that you guys would look after our best interests? Because in the past, for five out of the last six board presidents, we had Gloria Bowman, David Krause, Rocky Yarner, Hal Resch, and Larry Stern, all of which that had members of either their family or were past employees of this district,
Yep.
not looking after our
So,
interests.
Dave, I agree. I've been here the last 4 years, and I didn't like the way negotiations were handled in the past. I felt as though the district needed a professional negotiator.
Sure.
We have a professional negotiator, Jack Corby. Our interim superintendent has a lot of experience with Mr. Sultanek and has confidence in his abilities to represent the interests of the community.
But the problem is, your solicitor represents the board. Jack respectfully represents the staff members of the district. We as a community have no one in that room. And in the past, we've been screwed because we don't have a seat at that table. We elected you to be a seat at the table. One of you should be looking after our best interest and be in that meeting at every moment to negotiate this very large contract that's responsible. So who are you going to appoint as a board director? The school director should appoint one.
this is a budget meeting, we're not gonna Shanghai this and talk about the negotiation style, but this is what we've opted for, and we are in communications with Mr. Sultanic, and I'm confident that he's doing things the way that we want them to be done. And I don't need to be sitting next to him while he's doing his job.
So we as a community would like one person that we elected to be in that meeting room at all times to make sure that the information is properly relayed back to the community that's ultimately going to be on this budget funding that is announced.
Yep, we will consider.
I'll just say for the record, I was not part of all things. I don't know what the decision.
I know.
Well, are you not allowed to show up, Wally, or can you just show up and attend as a,
I don't know. I was not part of that thing.
why can't you just show up and watch?
What's
I mean,
that?
you're here for oversight.
Voted on opting out of absence. I thought we had a
Are you being restricted from attending?
Well, if you don't know now, you are.
Do you know when the meetings are?
It's not a big deal, I'm just saying, I was not part of opting
Yeah,
out.
I understand that, but I mean, if you know when the meetings are, you can show up, right?
It's not a discussion, all right? I'm sure if Wally wanted to attend, he could.
Does he know when the meetings are? Are they announced to the board?
There has been one, I believe, so far.
They have told us.
No one is restricted from attending the meetings, but no one has asked to attend the meetings.
I think that's an
And
error.
the board discussed handling it in this fashion, and everyone has been in agreement.
I think that's an error and it should be corrected. Thank you.
And
Humble
on your
opinion.
other statement about 824, as I emailed you today, it's on the workshop for next week. Hopefully will be adopted if the board agrees at the April board meeting.
Thank you. That's
Because
awesome.
I agree with
Really
you,
appreciate it.
it should never have been excluded. I didn't know there was an 824.
It's an embarrassment that we missed it. And I'll even humbly say that it had to be blocked. If it wasn't given to the board, yet the PSBA has it in other districts, it had to be given to the administration and then physically
The
blocked.
same way that the anti-hazing was given
Same
and
cloud.
was never presented to the board. I understand that.
So that
But
that
we are
would-
correcting that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
appreciate that.
blocked in the past, David, it's not gonna be blocked anymore, you know?
But not only that, but you should also then go back and find out other ones that may have also been
Right,
blocked.
and that's
'Cause now we found two.
something we'll be discussing is somebody to go through the policies and see if we're missing anything else.
Correct.
Correct.
The plan date
Thank
is,
you.
once we get past the end of the school year and get all these big picture things figured out, is to start looking more carefully at the policies and find out, like you're saying here, that some policies were not adopted, that were recommended by PSBA.
Not even reviewed. Not even shown to the board.
Right,
That was
we
the
get
message
it.
now.
Yes,
That's why I
Holy
sent
smokes.
the email and asked for it to be put on the workshop meeting so it can be discussed. And I
What the
am
hell is going
personally,
on in this district? I mean, come on.
we know.
Dave, you were here, so
I
let's
know.
go.
Oh, I know.
So
You
let's-
didn't bring it up sooner either.
I
So
agree.
let's
Oh,
talk
I am now.
about the budget. So, ever since the last budget meeting, Barb and I have been working closely with Ed. We've been looking at a lot of numbers, and the board needs to start making some decisions. So I put this presentation together to give the rest of the board some idea of the types of things that I'm seeing relative to the budget, kind of set the stage for the elements that are elements that we can't really change, they're things that we have to live with. And then what's going to happen is we're going to eventually get to the end of the presentation, and the administration is recommending that we add 10 new positions to the district for the next school year. That has a cost obviously associated with it. We have invited the building principals here, and they're going to be advocates for this position. Like, they're going to answer the board's questions, like, why is the administration asking for these positions? If we add them, what do we gain? If we don't add them, what are we not gaining? And the hope is that we can deliberate here publicly, and we can decide on which positions we will add to the next school year. And then this presentation will end with us entering into an executive session, because the other big piece of the budget is the new employee contract and we can't deliberate on that publicly, obviously. And then the board's going to need to make some other decisions, sort of relevant to what we were just discussing with Mr. Bradley, to be able to tell Mr. Sultanic what we want him to do. And he's been bugging us, and he wants direction because he's not making things up himself. He's doing what we're asking him to do. So we're going to talk about some of the special challenges, things that we have to live with. We're going to talk about like a status quo budget that I had asked Ed to put together to compare against the proposed budget. And then we're going to talk about the sort of things that we actually have the power to change and where we have the choices. And that's where we'll get into the deliberation, and we'll have the building principals help us out. Okay, next slide. I think everybody knows that we have about $100 million in debt. About half of it is construction costs, and about half of it is tied up in PSERS. Go to the next slide. So the construction debt is costing us right now about $3.8 million a year. We do get a plan-con reimbursement, reduces our payment by $1.3 million. So we need to pay for $2.5 million ourselves. And this construction debt is going to go until the year 2044. And our buildings are going to be getting older as we move along, and some of them will be 20 years old in 2040. So it's just something we need to keep in our minds. Whenever we create construction debt, you know, the state considers that our problem, our choice, comes out of local taxes, and $2.5 million represents 12% of our local taxes. This is just for the board to get our minds around this so that we can think about you know, we want to add positions, we want to do fun things. 10% of the local taxes are already tied up in, unfortunately, this construction debt. So next slide. The PSERS debt. It's